What is up, everybody? We are back on the Lasagna Show. It's been a minute. It has been a little bit of a break there, but we are back right in time before the playoffs. Very exciting time to be a Yankee fan. Exciting time for most fan bases that are going to be in the playoffs here coming up, and a very exciting time for all the fan bases that root against us. So that gives them something to watch there. Great to have all of you on today. I had Connor on there, but I'm not sure where he went. So we will. Oh, there he is. We're back.
Yeah.
Connor, what's going on, man? Nice to have you on here.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I got nervous and I was like, I'm going to bail. No, just kidding. I clicked the wrong thing, but we're good. We're setting up. Time apart, can I mix you rusty on things sometimes? But I'm rejuvenated with all kinds of hot air I'm ready to release right now and talk about stuff. So,
What's up, everybody in the chat? Stan the Man, Yankees News, Matt, what's going on, guys? It's been a minute. We simulcast this on YouTube and Twitter. So we're very excited to, have everyone that's going to tune in tonight. Brad Jewis says too many Coors Lights of late. I cannot confirm or deny such things, so I'll plead the fifth. Bernard, what is going on? Thomas Edwards, what's up, fellas? The gun show. No, Connor's got more gun show than me, but I haven't taken creatine. I've been seeing sounds. I feel like a new man, so I feel like I'm, we're getting somewhere. But it's an exciting time to be a Yankee fan right now. The team looks fantastic. It's been a minute since we did one of these shows, so a lot has gone on down the stretch. We had the vaunted, gauntlet stretch where they played some good teams there back to back. We did have some cream puff series where they, puff up their record a little bit and everyone got fat and happy against some bad teams. So, there's been a lot to digest down the stretch. Obviously, we didn't get the division yesterday. The Rays totally sold out and sat all their good players and stuff. It was close early until it wasn't. So that was a little bit disappointing. But, some of the things we were looking for down the stretch were how was the bullpen going to perform? The offense was good all year, so we expected that to continue. Starting pitching looked good. Max Fried started to find his groove after he kind of, had some rough starts after the blister healing. But what were some of your overall impressions of how the team played down the stretch and where they currently stand going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we saw a real rounding into form for the bullpen, which is what we were all asking for, really. I mean, the offense was pretty solid all year, wire to wire. You hit on the other key point, which is Fried really kind of finding it again. Obviously, great first half. Had a few blips there in the middle part of the second half, and then rounding into form right at the right time, which is what you need from your ace. With Cole on the shelf. I think seen a lot of heart out of this team, seen a lot of resilience, a lot of keeping the blinders up, not listening to what idiots like us have to say or anybody else. Believe me, because there's other idiots out there.
Although they
are
should.
Even more idiotic and talk even more often than us out there. But obviously we believe that we're right. But setting aside,
we're the lesser of a lot of the evils out there, if we're being honest.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think the Yankees need the noise, but they also need to ignore the noise, right? So there's a time for reevaluation, and it's not in the middle of August, right? So we might be clamoring because we're impatient. We have points to make, but at the same time, we don't need the front office to be listening until there is actually a reason to listen. And that comes after the season's over, right? But what we're grading right now, for me, we'll get into the postseason preview, is how do we perform for the regular season? And I think given all the hills we had to climb and a lot of the things we had to fight against and stave off in terms of an increased level of competition in the division, to be fighting on the last day for a division against a really, really good Blue Jays team, to have really solidified, what we expect from the team going into the year and not just calling it a crapshoot like we usually do, and kind of having an idea with confidence of what we're going to see from the lineup with the depth we have, and the matchups we like to see from the bullpen. Really, it was a little bit of cramming for the test at the end there, but having a clear idea than we even did 2 weeks ago about what the bullpen's going to look like in high leverage type games. and the ways you can mix and match when you don't have to worry about next week because you're fighting for today, right? And then the offense, I think, has been the most constant thing, and we have no reason to be doubtful about what they can bring to the table. And I think you have to give them a lot of credit in terms of, okay, great. At this juncture right now, we're grading the regular season. It's hard to not give it an A outside of the fact that we didn't clinch the division. That's the only thing. I mean, that's the only black eye. And we were effectively tied for that. So you have to feel good about where we're at.
100%. I mean, I had some concerns about that gauntlet coming up. Everyone called it that. I think it was like a 3 or 4 series stretch where they were playing some, pretty competitive teams. I think there was Boston, Toronto in there. I believe Detroit was in there. So there were some better teams, and it was going to be a test because earlier in the season, they struggled against Boston. They lost 4 straight to Toronto. So, coming into that series, it was like, okay, is this team are they going to step up? Are they going to figure things out? Is it hit the pedal to the metal kind of deal? And let's get ready for the playoffs and really see what we're made of. And the Yankees, at one point, it looked like the division was virtually a foregone conclusion for the Blue Jays. But with the tear that the Yankees went on down the stretch, the division actually became competitive, which was a surprise to some of us. And it was a surprise to a lot of people because, Yankees against their own divisional rivals kind of looked dead in the water there for Boston, and Toronto just completely owned them for most of the season. So going into that gauntlet stretch, I was like, okay, can they salvage a Boston series? Can they salvage a Toronto series? Can they just flip the switch like that and actually, start to play better against those teams when it matters most? And they did, which was huge. It was great to see, very encouraging, and it gives us hope going forward. Because, beating up on cream puffs is always nice, and puffing up your stats and blowing out teams, 1,000,000-0 is always fun to watch on TV. But when it comes to playing real teams, some of the teams you're going to see in October, we kind of want to see that heightened intensity. We want to see how they respond to good starting pitching. We want to see how, the offense responds to facing better starting pitching. So we saw a lot of very encouraging things down the stretch, and I think it's super exciting looking forward because now, we beat Toronto recently. We beat Boston recently. They've seen, a lot of those guys over the course of the year, and they're going to see them again here soon when the lights are the brightest. So very exciting time, very good finish to the season, and a lot of very encouraging stuff. What's up, Michael G? See you in the chat. Peggy, thanks for coming. Jordan, what's up, my man? Jordan was actually on a few months ago. He was fantastic. So great to see him in here. So, we're talking about the end of the season here, and, the team's getting hot at the right time. They're going to have home field advantage in this wild card slot. Even though they didn't get the division, it is nice that they will be home. One part that is somewhat encouraging is they won't have to sit for a week, basically, and, get cold. Hitters are rhythm guys. Pitchers are rhythm guys. So they're going to get a chance to go from regular season to 1 day off, which is today, and then be right back into fire tomorrow. So hopefully these guys are going to be able to maintain some of those rhythms. But in terms of, player performances over the course of the season, we got a 162 game sample now. We've seen a lot of, what these guys did with their season. Some guys missed time, some guys didn't. Outside of some of the obvious ones, Judge, Stanton, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Bellinger, who are some of the underlying players that you think made a huge impact on why this team is where they are now, and who you can see making that same significant impact going into this postseason series coming up in the rest of October?
Yeah, I think for me, it's Cam Schlittler. I think, the guy has amazing stuff, and you see a lot of that, though, with guys that come up. I think Will Warren's had great stuff all year, but the surprising thing is for his pedigree and his limited experience coming in, obviously making his debut with, the big leagues this year. I've been just as impressed by his mettle and his makeup and his ability to deal with some of the things we see other guys struggle with. Will Warren being an example, where he seems to have a lot of flashes, but he kind of his weaknesses is when he has any kind of traffic on the bases or early runs, being able to kind of settle back in and give you clean innings beyond that. So I think it's just what the doctor ordered in terms of solidifying our rotation. We're going to see him probably start a game 3 here if necessary. Mm-hmm. Or hopefully we see him start a game 1 in the divisional series, or maybe we can roll it over. But anyway, I think in terms of impact coming up in the postseason, that I'd be hard pressed to think of a guy who's shown more to give you confidence that he's prepared and poised to make an impact right away in this coming series.
100%. I mean, Cam Schlittler's stuff is phenomenal. I mean, I've been on the record complaining about wanting more velo on this team. Yeah. That is a dude who he stepped in day one and he set like the 60 fastest pitches any Yankee has thrown all season, like within the first couple of weeks. So, I mean, the dude is bringing high velo, and that's something they didn't see in the minors with him. I think he was floating around 95, 96. I think Paul O'Neill says it here and there during the telecast. But, I mean, to see a dude come up from the minors and to not only be throwing gas, but the composure that he has. He carries himself like a veteran. He doesn't look like he's shaking out there when he's got traffic. He's a big, tall, long, lanky guy. So sometimes it's harder for those guys to repeat their mechanics. So sometimes he is a little bit wild, which is something we see with Luis Gil too. That was the huge debate was Luis Gil or Cam Schlittler there. So Schlittler will get the nod, and he earned it. I mean, his performance down the stretch was fantastic. I think his ERA for the season is under 3 now. After, I think he's thrown about 60, 65 innings and his ERA is under 3. So, I mean, for a guy to come up and step up in a spot like that when this rotation really needed him, in addition to Will Warren, who logged like, I think 140, 150 innings, he's among the league leaders in starts. I think he had like 32 or 33 starts. So for these young guys to come up to the bigs in a year where we didn't have Garrett Cole and log innings and, we didn't have Luis Gil either. So these guys really played a crucial role in eating some innings and filling those gaps. And Cam Schlittler's been above and beyond what anyone expected him to do. So that was a very good pick for sure. I don't know. So this guy I'm about to pick, I'm actually taking him from you a little bit because you were the one who nailed it after he came here. And I think it's Bednar.
Nice.
I think that his impact and his impact on the back of the bullpen and his ability to lock down a game where there's a slim lead late has been crucial for this team because, the reason we might be in this wild card spot now is how many blown saves Devin Williams had earlier in the season. So for them to go out and get a guy who he fits the bill that I'm looking for, a big, strong dude throwing 4-seam power fastballs up in the strike zone, that doesn't slump. When you get when you get a bunch of junk ball throwers, sometimes the feel isn't good one day, and especially going into October, it's cold. Yeah, the ball gets slick. You got to keep grabbing the rosin bag. You got to maybe blow on your hands to get some better grip. So, I mean, a 4-seam power fastball doesn't slump. So for them to find a guy in Bednar who everyone thought he was going to the Yankees, they've been in conversations for him over the last couple of seasons. There was some concern though with his high leverage numbers. So a lot of people, we're posting the Baseball Reference kind of graphic breakdown of, here's his high leverage. And it looked a little scary at first. So everyone's like, I don't know how much I love sticking him in the closer role immediately. But you were one of the people that said, I think he should be there. And you completely nailed it on that. He has been phenomenal for this team. And he's really solidified what, the bullpen is still a major concern for this team. The relief pitching is not great. We don't know how Devin Williams is going to do in the postseason, although he has, kind of righted the ship lately and kind of fallen into that 8th inning setup role. But, I mean, at the end of the game, Bednar's going to come in. He can potentially give you 2 innings to finish a game. We've seen him go, 5 out saves. He's done it a few times. So this is a dude who can go out there, pitch the 8th inning, get you out of the jam, go sit in the dugout, come back out for the 9th, and still slam the door shut. So I think he's been invaluable for this team, and he's solidified a very shaky bullpen that we thought was fixed after the deadline. And it may not be as fixed as we thought because there are still a lot of question marks in there. But, I mean, Bednar has been a godsend for this team. Yeah,
Bednar's a great choice. Yeah, I remember our conversation about it. Might have been the last time we were actually on, which is crazy to think about it. It was
it's been a minute.
Yeah, it was post deadline, right? So we were pretty pumped about the bullpen. We kind of ran into a buzzsaw there in terms of the immediate results. But I remember our conversation about Bednar. We didn't know who'd be the closer. I think I like Bednar because of his experience closing games with the Pirates, even though you could argue about the low leverage situation with Pittsburgh. But the question was, how many saves do you think he's going to finish with as a Yankee? Not even necessarily will he take a hold of the job as quickly as he did, but I think it was a matter of like over under 10, and he finished with exactly 10. So
wow,
but he came in a lot of games with 4-run leads. So I mean, I think overall
he did.
he held down the back end no matter what. So the one thing I'll add is you talk about the fastball, and I was able to see this in person recently against the Orioles on Friday. And when he wasn't able to look at with the fastball right away, that curveball that he has that, front door to righties, back door to left, or sorry, kind of sweeping away from lefties, or sorry, in on lefties. Mm-hmm. He can throw it for strikes when he's struggling to locate the fastball. And a lot of relievers have great stuff and throw junk, but you worry about that when that's what they live and die by, and they can't necessarily always be expected to come in,
right,
fully kind of tuned up for the moment and be able to do that for strikes. And I think his ability to kind of have all that power and all that control and poise and confidence in each of his pitches, or when one kind of falters, being able to go to the other one, especially that curveball is it's a nice, hard, tight curveball with a late movement, vertical and horizontal. And I think that plays against anybody. And a high fastball that you can locate plays great too. But I just think the combination's been excellent, and it's kind of like what you want. It's just what you want in a back end postseason reliever. And I'm excited for for him to kind of come in a spot against a good team, good lineup, and shut it down. So hopefully we see that 2 times in the coming series at least. So
100%. And his splitter is nasty too. So I mean, it's not often that you get a closer with 3+ pitches. I mean, usually with a closer, you got one great pitch and maybe a secondary pitch that's not as great. But I mean, he's got 3 high-end pitches he can go to. So it's hard for batters to eliminate one and look for the other because you got a third to worry about. So I mean, he could flip that curveball in there. He could throw you a split that falls out of the bottom of the zone, or he can power you up at 98 up in the zone around your chest. So I mean, he's going to be so key going into the playoffs. We kind of touched on Devin Williams a little bit. He's emerged as the primary setup man to Bednar right now. It scares me a little bit because we all have some PTSD from what he was doing earlier this season. He showed some moments where it looked like the pressure was getting to him. It looked like he was pressing. It looked like he was tight. That whole, if he gives up a hit to the first guy, that kind of inner monologue, like, oh shit, here we go again. I don't want him to feel that. I want him to go out there and be confident. I want him to forget about the early season stuff because his, every pitching profile on Twitter now has all these different ratings on like how good the stuff is. And Devin Williams' changeup is always at the top. So he knows he's got a great pitch. He just has to go out there with the confidence to throw it and get outs consistently and not get in that mental. Because if you look at his postseason numbers, there's not a huge sample size, but they're ugly. And, everyone knows the famous Pete Alonso home run off of him in Milwaukee. I just don't want the bright lights of the Bronx and the moment of the playoffs and, him trying to right the wrongs from earlier this season to start creeping in his mind when he's out there trying to hold leads for Bednar. Because honestly, if you look at the other options outside of maybe Cruz, who's kind of shown to be human a little bit more recently, Weaver hasn't looked the same this year. Mark Leiter Jr., not great. I mean, there's not a whole lot of options there late outside of Bednar being lights out. So, you're a little scared with Williams in the mental. Weaver hasn't been great lately. Cruz, a little scary recently, has looked more human. You got Leiter out there. So, Tim Hill, pretty solid, but there are moments where he gets hit too. So it's like, this is a group that's going to have, if this team is going to go where we think they can go or where we want them to go, the bullpen has to be one of the biggest reasons why they do it. And it's a little scary. What do you think about Devin Williams and the state of the bullpen?
Yeah, I think there's a tail of the tape and what you see from him emotionally when he's had failures. And I think it sticks out maybe a little bit too much for us because we do grade a certain caliber guy that comes in and doesn't have success right away. When you give something up for him and you got the other narrative of him being the reason why we have Beers in the team now. And the overall struggles of our bullpen have kind of fallen on his shoulders in terms of the optics. But you still look at his season as overall, and you take the lens off of the fan goggles, and you say he's had one of the biggest spreads between opponent batting average and expected batting average. There's a lot of advanced metrics that you can look at whether you give a crap or not about those kind of things, and say there's reason to feel like regression is on his side. Like when things are going to kind of come back more to the mean, what better time for him to now rewrite that the narrative around these things? Right. I think it's an opportunity. I think it's as much oh, you worry about like, oh, is he going to be able to overcome the fear of that continuing? But I think he's kind of at a point now where he doesn't have much to lose. It's been pretty much a resounding, just complete dud for him in terms of his time in pinstripes, and he's got nothing but he's playing with house money at this point, and he's rounding more into form than he has been than it was in the early part of the season and beyond that. And I think you're not looking for a fluke, you're looking for a continuation of that, and that's all he needs to completely flip the script. So I think it's a great opportunity in front of him with the culture that we have as fans and around the team to say, who gives a shit about all that? You show up in the postseason when it matters the most. We don't even care what you did in the regular season. So I think he's got to look at it from a positive perspective, and I'm sure that he has support around him to do that in terms of his teammates. And that's one of the things I mentioned earlier broadly is like they've kind of kept, so you can tell they keep so much of the nonsense that you hear, right or wrong, going on outside the team, away from that kind of core nucleus of guys, and it comes down to player leadership and beyond that. So I think that bullpen unit has an identity now that it didn't necessarily have when we first kind of threw those guys together, and Devin Williams is certainly part of it. I think you could do a lot worse for a setup man, and I'm glad that it's not being all put on him where we expect him to be the closer. I think that's definitely a positive for him. He had a ton of success over the early part of his career when he was kind of making his name with the Brewers, being setup man to Hader. And I think you have to look at that as, okay, like we're taking the pressure off you here. Just go out there and take care of business in the eighth. And ideally, we're giving him clean innings because the walks have been the issue for him.
Right.
Like the lead, if I see 0 leadoff walks from Devin Williams this postseason, I'll be a happy man.
Yeah, 100%. And some of the backlash he got this season, getting booed in the Bronx. A lot of people still blaming him for the Yankees being in the wild card spot they are now. You keep seeing all the expected win totals for the Yankees being like 97, 98, and they're all like at 94, I think, right now. And they're like, oh, this is all Devin Williams' fault. So hopefully he can put that behind him.
Yeah.
It's a clean slate now. It's in the playoff. It's the playoff time. If you perform as a Yankee and you're clutch when it matters most, and you deliver a championship for this fan base, for the city, everyone will forget about what happened in the regular season. I mean, you look at there's still some guys we remember off the top of our head from the 2009 bullpen. Damaso Marte, Brian Bruni. Like, these are guys that just come off the top of the head because you're like, oh, I remember that run. I remember them being good in the playoffs. Like, I can't tell you what Brian Bruni did in the regular season that year. I don't really remember. I remember him being decent in the playoffs, though, and I remember, Damaso Marte being a nice lefty specialist. So if these guys – October is where Yankees make their name in history, especially with the fan base. So – he's got a really good opportunity to put a lot of the, the bad feelings behind him, get the fan base back on his side, get people trusting him again, and, figure out a way to become an essential part of this team making a deep run.
He's going to have to be. He's going to have to be. If we're going to go the distance, he's going to have to be a big part of it. So
absolutely has to be. Yep.
Yeah, these guys are maybe lower on the trust meter than you'd like from, guys in years past where we felt more solid, but for better or for worse, this is the run we have to make. It's going to be through those guys. Especially because the offenses we're going to be facing, if we do go the distance, are going to be some nice offenses, better than the ones we saw last year. So,
Yeah. What's up, guys, in the chat? I see Chris in there. Welcome back, man. Lady Red Sox. We got a Yankees Red Sox playoff matchup. She's going to be chirping a lot. So great to have you in here. Yankee Greats, what is up? Matt June, what's going on, man? Mooncake, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us tonight. One guy in particular that scares me that I hope isn't going to be in high leverage is Doval. Man, some of his stuff is filthy, but he is just flip a coin of what you're going to get when you put him in. And I don't trust him with a small lead at all. So I'm hoping
him on Friday?
Middle relief. Struck out the side.
Dude, he was fucking amazing. I was in the building and it was just unbelievable. And I had no confidence in coming in, and then you see that one time and you're like, damn, dude. Damn.
And you want to believe, but he's got some of that Jekyll and Hyde in him. Well, he'll come out and he'll walk 3 guys and give up a double, and you're like, "What? How does this guy ever get outs?"
You gotta. He's gonna be used. I mean, he's gonna be used, and I think you have at least a glimmer of hope that he can be an absolute weapon out there. But you gotta have someone loaded up behind him. You gotta double barrel that warm up for him. Anytime he's getting up, I want someone coming in. I want the plan B already on the freaking bump in the bullpen, ready to go for whenever the minimum's reached or whatever.
That's huge.
Maybe that's Tim Hill. Maybe that's Tim Hill, regardless of lefty righty, because you could say his numbers, and his usage and his absolute I'm not sure how he finished up, but for the majority of the year, he was leading in terms of usage for any Yankee pitcher, so any bullpen pitcher. So
Yeah,
Tim
I'm surprised
Hill,
it's not Cruz.
yeah, no, right? Well, he got hurt, right? But
Yeah.
Tim Hill's availability has been his biggest ability, but also I just feel like even against righties, I trust him in a way that I don't trust a lot of other guys that have better stuff in the bullpen. So I really like him as kind of a just a insurance policy against any of these guys we might like. For their upside, you can have Doval, the version of him that comes in strikes at the side, or you can have him come in and load the bases up. I like him coming in with the bases loaded a lot more than I like other guys and other lefties that are no longer on the team.
You're giving me some flashbacks of
we made it about half an hour before Nestor comes up. It always happens when we get together. Nestor comes up every time.
Dude, it's hard to how can you ever talk about Tim Hill as a Yankee ever and not think about how he should have been in that game? It's one of those things that's going to be part of his legacy forever. If the Yankees don't win something, you're going to be like, oh, Tim Hill. Oh yeah, he's the guy that didn't come in and Nestor came in instead of him. It's just crazy. Every time I see him, and there's still comments on Twitter. You'll say something about Tim Hill, and in the comments you'll be like, oh, he should have came in for Nestor. I'm like, people will never forget that. That is history forever. So it's just funny. We Yankee fans don't forget, and but we will be incredibly forgiving if you step up in the playoffs and you completely erase the shit you put together in the regular season.
So what you're saying is Tim Hill is your early pick for World Series MVP. That you're saying?
Yeah. Yep. He's going to start and close and middle relief. He's going to just throw a shot at every game. That's
very marketable too. Yeah, he's very marketable. He's the face of the team. I love Tim Hill because he's clearly a wacky guy. I saw that picture of them.
Aren't all lefties though? Aren't all lefties a little wacky?
Yeah, he wore a they were all at a wedding recently. All the players, a lot of the pitchers were there, and they're all wearing nice dapper suits. A lot of Tom Ford and Giorgio Armani, and then you got Tim Hill there with a fucking Hawaiian shirt on underneath his suit.
Typical lefty.
That's what I want. My lefty submarine reliever. Yeah, for sure.
They're just quirky guys. But if you face a lefty in the sport, left-handed golf swinger, left-handed bowling thrower, left-handed pitcher, for some reason being a lefty is a cheat code in a lot of different sports. So I'm very jealous of them, and I wish I was left-handed. So I'm just gonna put that out there. But what is up, Ravon? Nice to have you in the chat there. NY Enjoyer says thoughts on who should play second base / third base. Tomorrow they're going to be facing Crochet, and we'll get into some of this more. But it's looking like Jazz might be right in the pine here. And are they going to put McMahon at third just for the defense and whatever he does at the plate, they don't care, and then maybe put Rosario at second to get that right-handed bat in there? I know he's gone I think 3 for 6 with a homer against Crochet this year, something like that. So, it's kind of the ideas being thrown around. I don't know what the right answer is here. Obviously, Jazz not being in it kind of sucks, and he's a fan favorite. He does a lot of good things. But what are your thoughts on the second base / third base option situation?
Yeah, I think we might see what we saw a couple times leading into the end of the season, which was I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to seeing Rosario at third, given his numbers against Crochet, and then you keep Jazz at second because Jazz is your third best hitter. I don't give a shit what the numbers say about. I haven't really looked at them in terms of Jazz versus Crochet. I think it's a matter of saying you live and you die by your studs, and Jazz has proven himself to be a stud in this offense. So I think I don't care what anything says in the peripherals, unless the sample size is 50 or something, and it's just one-way street. I think you need to see Jazz there at second base, not messing around at third. We haven't seen him there in a minute. So I think if you're gonna spell Rosario for anyone, it's for McMahon, unless McMahon is an absolute world beater against Crochet, and I have no idea. But
what I've kind of seen on Twitter today is a lot of people's. So at first it was maybe Caballero plays third and Rosario plays at second to get two right-handers in there. But a lot of people are saying, Max Fried is a ground ball pitcher. You want to have your best defender at third base in, so McMahon essentially would be your better defender there. And they're saying, okay, well, where would you put Rosario if you want to get that bat in the lineup against Crochet? And some people are saying it needs to be at second. But like you said, traditionally your top 4 or 5 hitters are in the lineup every day, regardless of the handedness of the pitcher. So it's been speculated a little bit on Twitter, about what's going to happen with Jazz tomorrow. But I find it hard to believe that Jazz isn't going to start. I'll believe it when I see it when the lineup comes out. Imagine imagine Boone having to have that conversation with Jazz, like, oh, tomorrow's the first day of the playoffs, you're going to sit. Like, I can imagine that wouldn't be a great conversation either. Jazz would be pretty upset. So it'll be
you
very
want
interesting
Jazz
to see how that
happy,
plays
right?
out.
You want your 30-30 guys happy who play great defense and are a spark plug for the team. I don't think at the margins we're talking here.
Yeah,
it's worth rocking the boat when the team's this hot, and Jazz is a huge part of that. I don't get angry at lineups very often. I'm unique in that sense. I think a lot of Yankee fans do, but this one would really upset me. Usually I assume when there's like close calls and they go one way or the other, there's usually a reason for it, whether you agree with the reasoning or not. But for me, I would have a really hard time understanding why you take Jazz out of the lineup for a game one. I just would have a really, really hard time. Now, whether that means it's Rosario at third or whatever we're going to do. Let me ask you a question, because maybe hopefully we're on the same page here. We're going to see Caballero at short, right? Is that what we're going to see?
I don't think we're going to see that. I would prefer that, but I don't think we're going to see it.
So that's more confusing for me than Rosario at third. McMahon, I looked it up. He's 1 for 3 against Crochet lifetime with the strikeout, and I think Jazz looks like he's 1 for 4 with a strikeout. So it's immaterial, right? The sample size is so tiny.
And Jazz is a much better defender at second than Rosario would be if they put him there. This is all just Twitter speculation from today. There's no sources. There's no,
You're saying Jazz is a better third baseman defending than Rosario.
So people keep saying McMahon plays third for the defense because you want your best defender on that side, and then Rosario would play second in place of Jazz. But my thought on that is Rosario is not a good defender, and you're losing defense by taking Jazz out there. So it's going to have to, if that is in fact the decision they're trying to make here, do you take the weaker defense in exchange for him maybe taking Crochet yard? What's the give and take there? What's the risk reward like?
I think we're asking the right questions, but we're getting either through rumors or through them. Whether the rumors are founded or not is one question, but if what we're hearing is correct about the Yankees thinking, they're asking the right question, but they're giving the wrong answer. If you're concerned about defense, you go Caballero at shortstop. I don't give a shit.
1,000%.
Third base. I think Caballero can get the job done at third. I think Ron McMahon's been great at third base, and that's awesome. And you probably will see him towards the end of the game, regardless of who's pitching. But I think early on, if you like Rosario against Crochet matchup-wise over a guy in Ron McMahon who's been pretty much a minus bat with non-numbers against Crochet, 1 for 3. I think the answer to the question of prioritizing defense is to have Caballero in there at short. You tell Volpe that's why, and you move on with your life. I think that's it. I'd much rather have defensively Caballero and Rosario than McMahon and Volpe. And you have a reason to believe that's a better move offensively. But we're going to probably hear some bullshit from Boone about why Caballero is so lethal off the bench as a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. We love him in that position. Well, I like him starting. I like him being the starting shortstop for the New York Yankees to start game one. I think he's earned it. I think that's his job.
1,000%. 1,000%. He led all of baseball in stolen bases. He's got a much better on-base percentage than Anthony Volpe. He's got a better arm than Anthony Volpe. He's got better range than Anthony Volpe. He fields ground balls better than Anthony Volpe. He's got a better OPS since he's joined the Yankees than Anthony Volpe. What is the explanation here outside of, Anthony Volpe had a couple good series in the playoffs last year, and we think he's been good after the cortisone shot? There's no other explanation than that's just their guy, and they're going to use Caballero. I don't know. Maybe he plays left field. Maybe he goes to third base. Maybe he goes to second base. Maybe he goes to short. Who knows where the hell they're going to put him?
I'll tell you why. It's DEI. It's diversity. No. It's diversity, equity, and Italians. That's what it is.
That one right there should be clipped. But
go give my guy a follow on YouTube for that one, please. If you enjoyed that,
follow Connor on Twitter too. He can find his handle right there.
Yeah, I guess if you like that joke, you can do that.
Looking at comments real quick, Bernard says 100% Volpe needs to be sitting. I agree with there. Michael G says they're definitely playing McMahon with Fried on the mound. A lot of ground balls, right-handers. Ground balls to the left side. You want to have your good third baseman there, so we'll see how that goes. My guy Lakers from Twitter says, man, Johnny, we need you in New York like last year. Things up in the air, man, but I don't know. Maybe a miracle will happen. I need to see what happens with work and stuff. But
I'll be at game one. I'll bring a giant cutout of
Connor will be
on your head. So
Connor will be there tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
Nobody wants to see a giant cutout of my head, behind home plate. So Uh, Richie says Jazz game time decision. Caballero should start. I don't know. I think we'll probably get the lineup pretty early tomorrow. I think they're talking about it tonight. Probably already have their decision, but it's going to be one of those. They have with what Brian Cashman did at the deadline. They added depth to this team, depth that we haven't had before. But what that does is put some pressure on Aaron Boone and the analytics team who puts these things together, is to choose the right combination of players to make this team have the most success, any given day against any different pitcher or whatever. They love their right-hand heavy lineup against Crochet. I don't know. We probably won't see Slater tomorrow. I hope not. He's getting a lot of shit from the fans, as he should. He hasn't been good lately. But they got a Rosario. They have a Slater. They have a Caballero. They have guys, Goldschmidt at first base. They have the guys to put together a right-hand dominant lineup against a lefty like Crochet. And that's probably what they're going to do tomorrow. I wouldn't be shocked if Jazz was out of the lineup tomorrow. But it's going to go back to, how we lost the World Series and, how this team has looked before in terms of fundamentals. How much do you prioritize defense? If you prioritize defense a lot, then Jazz will be at second. McMahon will be at third and Caballero will be playing short. But we all know that's not the combination we're going to see tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to get a look into what the Yankees thinking is going forward tomorrow with what they put out for the lineup. Because Crochet, outside of School Bowl, Crochet might be, one of the best lefties we can possibly face in the playoffs. So they're going to put together the lineup they think that can completely destroy this lefty tomorrow. And, we have had the benefit of seeing him recently. Judge has had a couple homers in last year. So, Stanton's looking good so far. There are some good, outcomes that could possibly happen with the guys that we know are going to be in there. But this merry-go-round between rotations at certain positions and guys coming in, coming out, depending on right-handed, left-handedness, is going to be very interesting to see tomorrow. I have no idea what they're going to do tomorrow. We saw Chris Kirshner and Brian Hoke both have their, hypothetical situations they put out today based on what they saw out there, where guys were taking ground balls, some of the discussions that were being had. So it's a coin flip right now. I don't know what we're going to see, but I hope, regardless of who starts tomorrow, they got to find a way to outlast Garrett Crochet, and they got to find a way to score enough runs to give Max Fried a cushion and find a way to win that ball game. Because in a 3-game set, if you think game 1 is important in a 5 or 7 game set, game 1 is everything in a 3-game set. Because if you lose tomorrow, you have to win the next 2 in a row. Even though you're at home, that's tough to do, especially since we have had some struggles against Bayo as well. So we're facing 2 guys tomorrow that have had success against us. And we're going to have to put our best foot forward. So I was going to say, how do you feel? We're talking about the roster, this and that. How do you feel about the roster as a whole going into October? What are the strengths, the weaknesses? What do you expect from certain groups, the starters, the bullpen, the offense, certain positions? What is your overall feeling of the roster going into this key series? And how do you think the way they ended the season can kind of roll into what we're going to see starting tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we're going to live and die by the hope that our biggest offensive threats can jump on guys early, can do so with guys on base. And beyond that, I think your biggest X factor when you look up into the lineup is Bellinger's ability to hit righties and lefties and to really adjust his approach depending on the situation. Not to mention he's got excellent numbers against Garrett Crochet to start game 1. So we got a guy who on paper you think wouldn't match up well as a lefty until you go a little deeper, and then you realize his OPS against Garrett Crochet is in the 9s. And you like that not just from a power perspective, but from a hopefully he's coming up in a big spot when we can break the game open or give ourselves an advantage in terms of, when they finally roll it over to the bullpen, which is a weakness of theirs. Outside of Aroldis Chapman, I feel like you got to get to them early. And that's when you start to try to pile on. But you got to get these guys out of the game, and you have to do that with the guys you have starting. So they may decide with the home field advantage and a pretty good, what's going to probably shape up to be a pretty, defense heavy, pitching heavy duel between 2 guys that are in the top 5 in the AL at a minimum. It wouldn't shock me if they did just kind of go defense first and throw away the Rosario things and just say, we're going to give our A1 defense. And if we want to pinch hit guys, depending on the spot, will do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. I'm more fine with that. Setting aside the Volpe question, which I think we're all in agreement with, but the Yankees aren't. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I think we were talking about the team getting hot at the right time. Aaron Judge is getting hot at the right time, and I think we're overdue for a situation, especially against Boston at home, where you see the best player in the game take an entire series over with a couple swings here and there against some good pitching. And I've never seen him in a spot where he's more poised and more ready to do it. So it's a pretty basic answer, but I think it's an answer a lot of Yankee fans are hoping for, which is Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball, and that's our biggest thing to be excited about.
100%. And just looking at some of the groupings of this team, I'm confident in the starting pitching. I feel like Max Fried and Rodon they have been two of the best starting pitchers in the game. And I hope they can continue that in the playoffs. So I'm not really worried about the rotation. The offense, every metric you find puts this offense as the best offense in baseball. So I really don't have any concerns there. Although there have been some times in the last, several games where, they face a better starting pitcher and the offense is kind of MIA for 5 or 6 innings. And you're kind of like, okay, where's that coming from? And then they turn it on. You're always one at bat, one walk and then a single and then a home run from a 3-run homer. And all of a sudden the offense that you were worried about just put up a crooked number. So I have a little bit of concern of the offense, maybe going to sleep sometimes against better pitching. But I think it's the lineup is so deep. You're asking a starting pitcher to go 1 through 9 through that offense probably 3 times in the playoffs. It's very hard to not make a mistake to a Stanton, to a Judge, to a Bellinger, to a Trent Grisham who has 30-something home runs, to a Paul Goldschmidt against a lefty, to some of these guys who have done so much damage over the years. Even Austin Wells can poke one out. There's a deep lineup that is going to have a say in a game or a series one way or another, whether it's against your starting pitcher or your bullpen. If you can outlast a Garrett Crochet, let's say you haven't scored in 6 innings, he comes out of the game, you're going to get to eat against their bullpen for the next 2 or 3 innings. So, these teams are going to have to, the pitching we're going to face is going to have to be focused on every at bat. Every pitch has to be, there has to be some conviction behind it. You can't fall asleep and just lay one in there to some of these guys because you can fall behind pretty quickly. So I'm very confident in the offense. Starting pitching looks good. This team will only go as far as the bullpen takes them, in my opinion, which is a pretty, mainstream opinion. Is not, saying anything, out of the usual from what everyone else is saying, but it's very true because you can get a great start from a Max Fried, or you can get a great start from a Carlos Rodon, and then you're looking at a Mark Leiter Jr. or a Doval coming in, and you're holding your breath, or you're looking at Cruz coming in, you're hoping that splitter is on that day. Last few outings for him, he's been pretty hittable, so I'm hoping that stops starting tomorrow. But if Devin Williams can continue to be the setup guy we've seen recently, then you can feel pretty confident about the 8th inning and the 9th inning with Bednar. But how do you fill that 6th and 7th inning role there? Obviously you'll have a Tim Hill. There is a Luke Weaver out there who can go multiple innings.
Yeah.
But he's given up a lot of homers this year. The fastball doesn't look the same. His changeup's been getting hit. So there's a lot of, that 6th and 7th, inning role there is going to be hopefully a multiple inning Cruz situation where he just comes in and wipes dudes out with that split. Then you can get to a Devin Williams and you can get to a Bednar and you can shorten the game. But those middle guys, if a starter goes 5 or 6, that 6th, 7th inning slot is going to be huge for this team. And we're hoping and assuming Devin Williams is going to stay hot with what he's been doing in the setup role. But if he falters a little bit, what do you got in the 8th inning, in the 7th inning, in the 6th inning? It's going to be all about how they bridge the gap between when the starter comes out and when Bednar is going to be coming into the game. Hopefully it's tied or you're up, and Bednar can come in and give you multiple innings and keep things right where they are, or keep your lead. It's going to come down to the bullpen, and they are coming into this playoffs hot though. They have had, a little bit of success, outside of a few kind of rough innings that I've mentioned with Cruz and Weaver and stuff like that. As a group, they've been doing pretty good. Maybe that's because we've been facing some cream puffs down the stretch. Maybe it's because they're kind of righting the wrongs or correcting some things that were hindering them a little bit in previous outings. But yeah, I feel like this offense. I feel like the starting pitching in the offense can do enough to take this team pretty deep into the playoffs. It's just going to come down to whether the bullpen can hold the leads that the offense gives them going forward. So that'll definitely be something to watch. But like you said about Bellinger, I think, his ability to hit righties and lefties is, I think his ability to hit lefties, lefty, among Yankee ranks, I think is top 3 in franchise history. I think it was a graphic they had up earlier a couple games ago. So that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you can bet Stanton's going to hit. You're a big Stanton guy. He's going to hit. Judge, yeah. We don't know. We don't know yet. But Bellinger has to be that third tier guy who is going to be counted on during this stretch, because you don't have Juan Soto anymore. He was a good postseason hitter. You don't have Gleyber Torres, who was hitting last year in the playoffs either. Stanton, you can bet he's going to hit. Cody Bellinger has to be that next man up if Judge if the Judge stuff kind of continues a little bit. What do you think about a Trent Grisham or an Austin Wells or a McMahon? Do you think any of these guys can be more than just the defensive, kind of favorability guys than what they are? Or is this going to be a very heavy Judge, Bellinger, Stanton lineup going forward?
I think Trent Grisham, if we make any kind of a run, is going to have plenty of moments to show why he is as mentally tough as he is physically tough when it comes to playing the game of baseball. I think he's made for the moment in ways that a lot of guys in his tier aren't. And I think you can expect the best version of him as a player in big moments. We've seen it all year. He's been patently clutch. It's not just what you see and what you expect. It's what you look at in the actual numbers in terms of high leverage performance. I think Grisham more than the other two guys you mentioned for sure. I expect.
What about Jazz?
Oh yeah, no, I think Jazz is a guy where sometimes he can let the bigger moments get away from him when he starts trying to lay bunts down for hits for no reason. I think he is a very fast, athletic guy who gets terrible jumps sometimes. I think he's got incredible power, but he's not prodigious in the way that a Judge or a Stanton are. I think if you let him play his game, he can have an impact. I just don't think he can afford to force the issue.
Right.
But at the same time, I think you need to let him feel like he's a starter and he belongs in this team.
Yeah.
And he's earned the right. And I want him in the lineup, every time he's healthy enough to join the lineup. I don't know, man. I think it's
There's a name we haven't mentioned though, Ben Rice.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Ben Rice now, and Ben Rice probably is the least likely to start of all the guys we're talking about that have had big impacts throughout the year this season. So that's a shame, but it's kind of one of the downsides of having the depth we have, which I think losing Soto has forced us to develop a kind of almost the kind of depth we've seen from and envied from teams like the Dodgers and even sometimes Cleveland. Throw them out there, where you don't really have a lot of great options on the bench. And part of having great options on the bench means that you have guys that you wish could be in the lineup that aren't going to be. So that's Ben Rice. He's been a top 10 hitter in the AL. And so he'll find his
expected numbers are crazy.
Yeah. Unlike a Jazz, I worry less about his, the mental side of things in terms of missing a game or coming in the middle of a game. I don't think he has to get his uniform dirty to be ready to go. So, yeah,
100%.
We hope all these guys have impacts, but I think to answer your question directly, I think Trent Grisham is the one guy that jumps out.
Yeah, what you said about his clutchness is, it can't be understated. I mean, the dude's heart rate stays, so slow while he's in those moments. He's not up there nervous. He's not pressing. He looks poised. I mean, they're calling him the Big Sleep. I don't know how much I like that. I don't know how much I like that nickname for him, and the shirt was kind of weird. But I feel like if a teammate came up to me and, hey, you're the Big Sleep, I'm like, what? You think I look like I'm half asleep or something? What are you calling me that for? But I don't know. It's kind of weird. He's always be T-Rent to me. T-Rent is the man. I got to find that jersey somewhere. It's floating around here somewhere. But Ben Rice against right-handers, if we face a Bayo in game 2, or if we get through this series and we're playing different teams, Ben Rice's impact, hitting off right-handed pitching is going to be, I think, something that we've missed in the lineup in the past. I mean, last year, how many times did a Verdugo at bat come up and you're like, fuck, man, inning-ending killer, man. Like stuff like, I don't feel like we have as many automatic outs in the lineup as we have in previous years. I feel like this is the most depth we've had in the lineup in a long time. It's going to put a lot of stress and pressure on these pitchers. In the playoffs, every at bat is so intense, and it's not something that pitchers do on purpose, but sometimes a starting pitcher can look for at bats in a lineup where they can, take the break, take their foot off the gas a little bit, a breather at bat. It's probably going to be a Volpe at bat. Throw a bunch of breaking balls up there. He waves at him, and you get an easy out. In between having to battle with a Stanton, with a Ben Rice, with a Trent Grisham, with a Judge, and this lineup has guys 1 through 9 who, if you think that guy is going to be your easy out of the lineup to take your little breather, if you make a mistake, you get pounded. I mean, we've been talking about Anthony Volpe being a liability, but he does have 19 homers as well. So, he did have that granny, in the playoffs last year, although it was against the Dodgers JV pitching staff with, Daniel Hudson and crew out there. The one game we won in that series, but 1 through 9, there's not a whole lot of breaks the starting pitcher can take. And I think that's huge in the playoffs because it's going to be 5 or 6 innings of just battle after battle after battle with every hitter in our lineup. And that can be exhausting. Even for a guy like Crochet, he knows he's got to go out there and he's got to fight with a bunch of hitters who can take him deep, who can, put together strong at bats and get his pitch count up. Paul Goldschmidt, he's a defensive improvement at first base over Rice, but what he offers offensively over Rice against a lefty, is great. He's that's been his strength all year. So I think a lot of really good things with this lineup are possible. But like we said, it's going to come down to the bullpen. I think starting pitching is fine. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. So let's get into some of the playoff bracket a little bit. Obviously, we are starting the series against the Red Sox tomorrow. But looking at the AL bracket a little bit, I think that we probably got the toughest possible outcome. Of all the outcomes that there could have been with these 6 teams in the American League, I think we got the absolute worst case scenario. So it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to scratch and claw our way out of this, lower portion of the bracket to get to where we want to be. But what do you think about our matchup with the Red Sox? What do you think about a potential ALDS with the Blue Jays? What do you think the ALCS will look like? What are some of your thoughts on the bracket as a whole?
Yeah, I think if you look at the history of our games against these teams, you get incredibly nervous and apprehensive about it, right? So you have to start zooming out a little bit. When in doubt, zoom out. And what I would look at is ranking the team records going back to the trade deadline, where these teams all get, all these contenders get reshaped. And since that time, when we've retooled and other teams in the league have retooled, the Yankees share the best record in baseball with the Philadelphia Phillies, who are tied for second with the Mariners for total team home runs at a rate of 16 fewer than the New York Yankees over that time. So what I look at is hopefully we can pitch with these teams and win and live and die by the long ball while mixing in a few clutch, timely hits as well without killing ourselves on defense. We're not a plus defensive team, but we're certainly not the worst defensive team that we've seen in the Bronx in the last 5 years. Far from it. And I think, you've seen a lot of correction around the kinds of mistakes on the base paths and defensively that we know, and not to mention the bullpen being more solidified now than it had been in the past. All those things that we might have blamed a lot of those tough luck losses against the Red Sox and Toronto on we have somewhat of an answer for in recent history. So I don't feel like we're coping by pointing to the fact that we've been the hottest team in baseball over the last, not just couple weeks, but since kind of the reordering and reallocating of talent around the major leagues on July 31st. So that's what I hang my hat on. Once the games start and the first pitch is thrown, all bets are off. Anything can happen. A million new narratives will be written. We'll have way different concerns going into game 2, especially if we don't win than we had coming into game 1. But right now, you just got to rely on the preponderance of data we have access to. And, if you go back to July 31st, we're the best team in baseball. And we're getting hot right now. So, you said you're a little worried about Aaron Judge, the guy that rose the boat for us. I strangely, call me crazy, call me delusional, I have more confidence in him in this postseason than any player in baseball, because what do I have to go on? Is it my gut? Is it things I've seen in the past, expecting them to repeat themselves? Or is it who's the most talented player in baseball going into it, to an important series at home with everything on the line? And I've never bought into the narrative that he's not clutch. I just think he's been a victim of bad sequencing and just not being hot when he has to be hot and not getting things done in the way that you expect him to get things done. I think he flips that script, and I think that is factor A1. If and when we're successful this year, he'll be at the center of it. We're going to have a lot of other heroes that come and go, but it's going to be through his bat, I think, that we win this thing. And by limiting,
do you fear the two teams we have to play to get to the ALCS?
Of course, I do.
Teams that are most familiar with us. Do you think? Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we had the Mariners, route as Detroit or Cleveland to get through there, that would be nice. But do you think, does it play more into the favor of the Red Sox and Blue Jays, or does it play more into the favor of us?
Oh, dude, it's always better to be the home team who is being written off for the immediate history between two teams. Because the moment we give the fans anything to cheer about, it's going to get suffocatingly
insane.
Loud.
Yeah. It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah. And it's not going to be a matter of, we got best record in baseball. Who cares about the wild card series? We've been the tough luck kind of comeback guys. We didn't quite close the deal with the division, but there's a lot of momentum that you can feel in the stadium. The electricity is there. And, I guess we're not getting a week to sit around and doing nothing. We're going to get baseball right away, for better or for worse.
Big part in this. It plays a big part in this.
Yeah.
So when they first introduced this format, I think it was the Dodgers the first year, and I think the Braves or somebody else, I don't know. They were talking about how, that week bye was tough for them. The hitters were like, okay, we kind of lost a rhythm. You could only simulate hitting major league pitching so much off a pitching machine and doing live against your own teammates. It's hard to go from, divisional run or intense baseball to end the season, sit for a week, and then just flip a switch to the most important week of your season. So, this is a very, I wanted the division because I think we have some guys that could benefit from some time off.
Yeah.
But the biggest reason I'm not super upset about it is because of Aaron Judge, because of the way Stanton's hitting right now, because of the way Ben Rice is hitting right now, because of the way Carlos Rodon and Max Fried look like they're in a great rhythm pitching wise, and they're going to be able to stay on schedule. The bullpen is hot right now. There's a lot of things that are clicking right now that sure we would have liked to have gotten the full bullpen rest for the with the first round bye or whatever, or Stanton could rest up a little extra. But in a way, this is almost what we kind of want, is because we have the better roster. Let's just put it out there. I don't think it's even up for debate. We have the best roster in the American League, top to bottom. Our bullpen maybe is a little bit worse than Seattle, but I think Seattle's starting pitching, their road record, I was looking at it before we got on, is not good. They have very favorable splits at home, and they're going to get home field advantage in the ALDS or the ALCS, but they're going to have to play a few games on the road. So if the Yankees can steal one in Seattle, which they historically have had some success playing in Seattle, if it comes down to that, I think our roster compared to every team left in the American League is the best roster remaining. So if this roster ends the season hot, can go right into a series and stay hot and try to carry that for a couple weeks, I mean, this could, not winning the division could end up looking like a blessing in disguise.
Oh yeah. If we win, forget winning the series. If we win game 1 against Chris Shea, we instantly climb the board amongst national journalists and people who follow the sport across the board as the preeminent favorites to win the American League. Because every single player to a man outside of maybe Cam Schlittler and a couple other guys have had some form of postseason experience when a lot of these other teams have not, including the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, and those guys scare me more than the Mariners because I don't know about you, but maybe I'm delusional. I have zero fear of the Seattle Mariners when it comes to
I don't really fear that much either. I mean,
a longer series, especially zero
yeah.
fear. I worry about these
names
divisional teams that have had to have experience against us, that might have guys that match up better against us. But that comes back to experience, and no one has a better crop of guys that have more postseason experience. Even guys that have struggled historically in the postseason. I mean, people talk about Max Fried having bad postseason numbers. I feel like I'd rather have that than a guy who has played, a long career with 0 playoff games. Being your
he had a great World Series start in Houston though, and that
he's not
kind of
physically incapable of doing it, but he has
it's in there.
He knows what his body's going to do when he has that kind of pressure on him. When a lot of guys don't,
Right.
So I give me a bad few games in the playoffs to learn from and grow from. Than a complete mystery bag, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
the mystery is huge, and I see Robert Little saying, the Mariners have the most complete team. On paper, I would say yes. But I think you have to factor the ballpark factor in Seattle and how much their starting pitching benefits from that. I think we can hit a Logan Gilbert. I think we can hit a Luis Castillo. George Kirby is going to be tough. Brian Wu is going to be tough. But I think our lineup against their starting pitching favors us. We're just going to need Max Fried and Carlos Rodon at the front of that series to get off to a good start, maybe steal a win for us in Seattle, something like that. And the bullpen has to be just good enough. If the offense can hit enough, it's going to take pressure off the bullpen. And if the starting pitching can get deep, maybe we can shorten a game with just going to Devin and then Bednar to finish. So maybe you can erase some of the concerns about middle relief by getting our starting pitching to go deep into games and then shortening the game with maybe Bednar going 5-out save and hoping Devin Williams has a good setup, appearance. So it's going to, Bernard says 5-1 versus Seattle. It's one of those things. I like our chances in Seattle. I think we've had success against them over the years. I think we match up well against them. They do have some guys coming out of the bullpen that are nasty. I think Munoz, and then I forget the other guy's name, but he's there's kind of funky sidearm. He's got some pretty nasty stuff. But our offense was the best offense in baseball for a reason. They've seen a lot of good pitching. They've hit good pitching before, so I'm really not worried about that. I just think our middle relief is a big weakness, but I know I'm really not concerned about Seattle at all. Looking at this bracket, I mean, if I was going to pick a team that I'm the most concerned about, especially in a 3-game set, it's the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
With Garrett Crochet going 1 and Bayo going 2, we've had, there's been starts from Bayo where he's gone 7 innings and only given up 1 run or less against us. So those are 2 starting pitchers that are not afraid to pitch in the Bronx. They're not afraid of our lineup. They've had success against our lineup before. And I think Boston scares me the most. So that's going to be, a test right out of the gate. It's going to make or break this team. I think we match up better against Toronto in Toronto's starting pitching and their bullpen situation with how, rough they've been recently than Boston. I'd rather see Toronto right now than Boston. So if we can get past Boston, I think the outlook is pretty positive compared to last season where, you got the Royals and then the Guardians were historically pretty good against the AL Central outside of Detroit back in the mid-2000s. So, this year you're not going to get that. You're not going to get the cakewalk AL Central teams. You're going to have it's going to be a bloodbath between Boston and Toronto. Boston with a short series. If you get past them, you get Toronto for the ALDS. That's going to be a little bit longer series. And you're going to be in Toronto. You're going to have to show up and compete in a pretty hectic road environment where the fans, the Red Sox fans don't like us. Luckily, we don't got to see them. Toronto, it's going to be a tough environment. That place is going to be packed. It's a whole country against us for the most part. So that'll be interesting. But I think our offense matches up really well against their pitching. What do you think about Boston or Toronto? Which matchup do you think favors us the most? And do you think we get past both of these?
Yeah, I think Boston, if you're looking at the locale, I think being home against Boston is a big advantage. I'd love to be home against Toronto. We're gonna have some home games against them. But I think in like just lineup to lineup, we match up really, really well against Toronto. Hopefully, it makes up for the losing home field advantage. But you got to have faith in our ability to take care of business against an inferior opponent at home. And if you don't, then you don't have faith in the team overall. So I don't care if it's Boston, what their record is against us in regular season. I mean, if it matters to you, the last time we faced, right, and the last time we faced them, it was Walker Buehler, and we absolutely spanked them. Right now, it's at home. We're seeing a much better picture than that. At the same time, though, you got it. The Red Sox have taken care of business against us in our ballpark, but it's different playing at Yankee Stadium in the postseason. It's different.
And they've got no Roman Anthony now. Their offense took a big hit losing him. And Devers is gone. So, I mean, those are two guys that Roman Anthony hit that bomb to the second deck basically last time they played New York, and it was tough. You didn't hear me mention the Red Sox when it comes to the teams with the best record since July 31st. I think they're pretty far down the list, and they're like 8th. I think they're the lowest of the playoff teams, and they're around the same tier as the Atlanta Braves, who had the advantage of playing the Mets down the stretch. So, tough job at the Mets there.
Yeah, they can't get
the Mets have been getting dragged all over Sports Talk Radio today.
Right. Probably something to do with having the biggest payroll in baseball and sports overall and missing
big if true
because they lost to the Marlins, who have the lowest payroll in baseball. Might have something to do with
That's a tough look. That's a tough look.
We're talking about clutch. That's the opposite, folks.
I don't listen to New York Sports Talk Radio, but I have seen.
Neither do I. Just look at the box scores, man.
Yeah,
look at the box scores.
I've seen some clips of Don LaGreca and others torching that team. Oh my God, just must-watch television, just for entertainment value, just for entertainment, not a Mets hate perspective, just like, oh shit, I completely shit on that team, and it's pretty hilarious to watch.
Just see the number of veins that show up on those guys' domes when they're losing their shit. It's at this piss poor product that Steve Cohen's putting out there and saying it's dynasty or bust. I mean,
Don gets so
how
red.
Dumb do they think Mets fans are that they're just going to take that? We're going to be better next year. What the fuck can you do that you haven't already done?
Pitching at all. They're pitching.
But hey,
awful.
we reserve no more than 55 seconds for that fucking bullshit franchise down the road, and we don't want to give them any more airtime than they deserve. We'll start hearing, Big Brother nonsense.
I know.
Even amidst all this nonsense, we'll be hearing that. So, yeah, for your real estate, sure, buddy, sure.
Did you say real estate? Just kidding.
Hey,
yeah, I don't fear the Red Sox lineup. Honestly, I think they can be scrappy. I think when they put a Rob Refsnyder in there against Fried.
Hold on, quick timeout. Robert. Just chill out, man. Okay, if you hate the Yankees, just say it. Okay, because earlier when you brought up Seattle, you said they're the most. He's in there pretty often. He's tweeting like he's messaging us like every 15 seconds. If you had just said Seattle was the more well-rounded team, that's okay. But you started off with an and that carries with it a lot of judgment, okay, and a lot of snark. All right, so if you want to come in here in the chat and be the most, be the most active person in the chat, just leave the snark at home, okay? If you hate the Yankees, that's fine. All right, you're allowed to. The most hated team in baseball.
Rob said, "I'm coming in here, and I'm laying it down on you, Connor McGuire. God damn it."
Yeah.
No, Robert. He's giving some pushback, and that's fine. We like an active chat. We enjoy the banter back and forth. We like it. All I'm saying is I don't have to look at a stat sheet to know I feel confident about them against the Mariners.
Yeah.
I feel confident about how we played against the Red Sox in the most recent series. Some of the, the 5-1 and all that kind of stuff dates back to some of the other series we've had earlier in the season, but I like the way we looked against the Red Sox during the gauntlet stretch. I like the way we looked against the Blue Jays during that gauntlet stretch. I like our chances against Seattle in their ballpark or at all ballpark. I don't fear Logan Gilbert. I think Brian Wu is really good. We can outlast him. I think Luis Castillo is hittable. I used to really like Luis Castillo, and I wanted him on my team. His home and road splits are awful. If Luis Castillo is in a situation where he's going to have to pitch on the road, huge advantage to us, especially with our offense the way it is. So I feel confident about these matchups. I don't fear the Cleveland Guardians. I don't fear the Detroit Tigers outside of maybe Kerry Carpenter and Skubal. Casey Mize, I don't really fear him. Maybe he's had success against us, maybe not. I don't have it in front of me, but I just don't fear that group. I think we're a better team. Mm-hmm. If we get past the Red Sox, I think this team will be in the ALCS. I think we're talented enough. I think we have, a good enough offense. I think the starting pitching is good enough. The back end of the bullpen can definitely be good enough if we can, shorten the reliance on that middle relief. I think we match up well against Seattle. I think we match up well against Toronto. I think this is our biggest challenge. They got to focus. Obviously, they are. I'm not saying this is like something they have to do that they haven't already been doing, but winning this series against Boston could be the most difficult part of their playoff run in the American League. I don't know if that's a hot take. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Everyone, the World Series odds favor the Mariners right now. They have the best odds in all of baseball. So maybe me saying that Boston is the biggest threat is a hot take. Hot takes and sausage early morning. Oh, it's not morning in New York yet, my but I just think Boston matches up the best against us. And if you look at their roster, we are a much more talented team. So if your biggest obstacle is going to be a less talented team, I think things look pretty good for us. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah, I think we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves when it comes to the Seattle matchups, but I think that's, comes to the territory when you're defending AL champs. You have to look at the whole thing. We're not
just looking at the whole.
We're not
whole
grateful
picture.
Just to be here, but it doesn't mean we're not going to be absolutely crushed if it never comes to fruition, right? So,
I mean, looking at real quick. Last year we went to the World Series with a worse team. Yes, we faced AL Central teams to get there, but I think this team is better than last year and it has every chance to do what the team last year did and get back to the World Series again. I'm confident in it.
Yeah. And I think you've got a much weaker NL than you had last year, whether it's the Dodgers or somebody else. So I think, look, very true. The reason why we are putting ourselves at risk by talking about our ALCS matchup potential is because we are full tilt in the Aaron Judge era, hoping to win this year, not next year. We'll worry about that when we come to it. Getting Cole back is great. We'll probably make some additions, especially if we don't win the whole thing. But for right now, it's just World Series winning or bust, right? And it's not arrogant. That's just like the reality of what our goals are. It's like period, right?
We are not looking past the Red Sox. We are not looking past them. We have our hands full. I said it earlier. This is, in my opinion, this is the worst possible matchup for us in the whole bracket on our side. I think the Red Sox are the biggest obstacle. Like Bernard said here in the chat, the 3-game series is kind of a crapshoot. Little things can go wrong. All of a sudden, you lose the first game and you have to win the next 2 to win the series. Like there are, everything it goes into tomorrow's game. You have to win game 1 and put that pressure on the other team, which is why I say if they can get past the Red Sox and they can weather the storm that we're about to get, it's going to be crazy, man. High stakes, weird things happen in Yankee Red Sox game. Usually they run really long time-wise. Everything slows down. The fan bases are at each other's throats in the stands, on Twitter. It's mayhem. It's historically been mayhem. It's always going to be mayhem. Yeah. Yankees, Red Sox in the playoffs with this much at stake. Box office is must-watch TV. You're going to be at the ballpark. I love that for you. The atmosphere is going to be absolutely nuts. Yeah. Hopefully there's a good result. But I just think matchup-wise, Crochet and Bayo, 1-2 going against us. The 2 guys that have seen our lineup the most, the 2 guys who have had success against us. If we can weather that storm, the rest of this bracket is looking very favorable. So someone's going to clip this and post this on Twitter if something bad happens. And I don't care.
That'll be
I'm putting my name on it. I'm putting my name on it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here. And I'm not disrespecting the Blue Jays. They beat our ass this year. They won the season series. They earned the right to win the division, and that's fantastic for them. We've seen them before, but I fear the Red Sox rotation more than I fear the Blue Jays rotation. I think the Mariners are a good team. Like I think Robert was saying, maybe the most complete team on paper. I agree with that. They added, a Josh Naylor, a Eugenio Suarez. They have Cal Rowley. J. Rod's had a good year. They got guys. They got some dudes on that team. No question about it. But I think historically we've had success against Seattle, and I don't fear them per se. I think they have a good team. But am I thinking they're going to completely overmatch us and dominate us? I don't think so. No. I think that would be a close series. I think we have a great shot of coming out of that one. Cleveland, we historically have been good against them, even though they're very hot. Detroit is what it is. They kind of faltered there at the end. But, getting through Boston is going to be a huge, huge thing. And it's going to be intense. It's going to be scary. So, talking about the bracket right now, we're putting you on the spot here, putting you on the record. How are the Yankees going to do in the playoffs? How far do they get? And what will be the end result of their playoff run?
I think the Yankees win it all this year. And you could say it's because I'm a fan, but I just point to our record going back to the deadline. I point to the fact that we have one of the best rotations in baseball, a bullpen that has the opportunity to right the ship and be an anchor for us at the back end, and some of the best, most prolific power hitters in baseball history with MVP pedigree and an absolute just like an extensive postseason history and hunger and experience that's required to kind of have a run, having just immediately done it. And incredible. I mean, it's a two-way thing when it comes to matchups. And we've seen these teams a lot. They've seen us a lot. We've seen them a lot. And the game changes when you're not only in October, but at Yankee Stadium. And like you said, I think the biggest obstacle for us is, and I'm assuming this is going to be successful, is us playing the Red Sox to start it off. And so, assuming, as I have to, unless I'm going to pick them to get bounced in the first round, right? I have to
that's
say,
how this thing's gonna go. That's how this thing's gonna go.
Right. I have to. So I'm going to take that off the table.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Yankees beat the Red Sox in 3 games, and then from that point on, I think we're not going to see an easy run, but I think we're going to see a favorable run, and a lot of guys step up. Our depth to really come to the fore. Our improvements in terms of intra-year improvements in terms of base running mistakes, and our improvements around bullpen and just fundamental baseball kind of coming forward and really, fortifying the already existing explosive offense we already had last year, and really solidifying that and having a lot more of a well-rounded game. I think that's going to translate to wins in the postseason, and I think I'll put my name on the line right there and say I think the Yankees win it all, and if we don't, I'll be sad either way.
Hey, you're not going out on a limb there. If there's ever going to be a year, I think this is a year where that's not a hot take. You look at the field, it's a very reasonable take based on the roster. Real quick, DT, first-time viewer, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it. DT says, I would not have it any other way than us facing the Red Sox. And that's the competitive spirit of the Yankees fan base. How many years did we lose to Houston? And some people are like, man, it just doesn't feel right if we get to the World Series and we don't beat Houston. Like, we want to get over that hump. We want to, we want to scratch that itch. We want to take care of that. Check that box. It's similar with Boston, man. Blood rivals, so much history dating back to a million years ago. But what do we got here?
Oh no, keep going.
Is he erasing it?
Ignore me for a second. Keep going, man. You're cooking right now.
Let's see it.
No, keep cooking. We'll get to it.
No. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Boston is a blood rival. They're our biggest rival. They're arguably it's the biggest, most exciting rivalry in all of sports. It's unfortunate that the Astros did fall off, and they're not really that. And I say unfortunate in air quotes, but a lot of people still have that bad taste in their mouth. Like we need to beat them in the playoffs, and check that box. We got to do that. Boston, recently Boston's had a lot of playoff success, especially against us. I think that 1-game playoff where Garrett Cole's pitching in Fenway and Xander Bogaerts should have changed up 900 feet to center field. But I'm going to agree with you here, and this is not Yankee bias. This is I just have a really good feeling about this group, and I feel like if we had this roster last season, we would have beaten the Dodgers in the World Series.
Oh yeah,
because there
at least pushed it past the Game 5.
There are noticeable improvements defensively for this team at key spots, like Ryan McMahon at third and Paul Goldschmidt at first, if need be, where you can erase some of those awful bobbled ground balls, some of the bad throws, some of the bad decisions. And this offense is no joke. I mean, look at the Dodgers right now. How bad are their bullpen?
Yeah.
If a game's even remotely close and the Dodgers bullpen comes in against our lineup, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to have some fireworks, man. This offense is box office. This is must watch TV with this offense, and I just love the variety. I think it's a very diverse group. Trent Grisham, he's hitting a bunch of homers, but he can hit that single. Cody Bellinger, he can go the other way. Josh Chisholm, he can hit a double or he can hit a homer. Stanton crushes everything. Ben Rice smokes doubles to the gap, or he can take you deep to the second deck. Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. We hope he's going to show up and give us that 2009 A-Rod run that we want. But this lineup is just so deep and so diverse. You can't just say it's all home run hitters anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Yankees offense went quiet because all they do is hit home runs. That's not a thing anymore. You got plenty of guys in this lineup that can keep things rolling. They can score runs without having to rely on home runs. So that coupled with the starting pitching, two of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball, two guys who are experienced in the playoffs. Fried, numbers not that great, but he has World Series experience. He delivered in a game where the Braves did win the World Series. So I do trust him some there. Devin Williams, a little shaky in the playoffs, but we'll see. I think we're the best team going away in the American League. I think Boston matches up against us well, but we are a much better roster than them. I think we can get through the ALCS. I think we can get through the ALDS. And then in terms of teams on the National League, I mean, I don't really fear any of these teams other than maybe the Phillies. I would say maybe the World Series matchup would be Yankees Phillies. We'd get a rematch of the 2009 World Series. We want. Oh no, not the we want stuff. No, Houston has been crossed out. Connor has thrown down the gauntlet and said, we want Boston.
Houston didn't show up, man. Houston just didn't show up.
So. Houston's at home with the Mets. They're getting ready for Cancun. They're packing their briefcases to go
Give
sit on the beach.
Boston some credit. Give Boston some credit for showing up, you know?
Yeah. They Boston has hung in there. They've been such a weird, scrappy group all season. What I forgot to mention about Boston, though, is if it comes to a game 3, Lucas Giolito is out, dealing with an elbow problem. So we could probably see Teal, one of their rookie pitchers. I don't know what they're going to do for a game 3.
Maybe Dustin
even gets there. Oh, God. That would be great for us. That would be great for us. But, I just think we're the best team in the American League. I think we have the best roster. I think it's going to end up being a clash with Seattle in the ALCS. It's going to be, a tough battle. They have a good lineup. They have a good bullpen. They have good starting pitching. I think we match up well with them at their house and at our house.
Little Bob in the chat. Sorry, Robert Little in the chat.
He's what do we got?
He's got his crosshair on you right now. Less so. I don't really say a lot of negative things about Boone unless they're really deserved. I don't really talk about Boone as much as Lasagna here. So
who said that? Who said that?
Robert Little said Yankees fickle fans should apologize if Yanks win it all. Apologize to Boone.
What?
I'll do more than that. I'll build Aaron Boone a shrine in Monument Park. No.
Here, Aaron Boone deserves the criticism he's gotten. Do you remember Game 1 of the World Series last year?
Yeah. Hello. If Boone wins a World Series, he's saying it's a hypothetical. So if they win the World Series and Boone manages them to a World Series, right, and a parade.
If Boone, just exactly what Bernard just said, and I'm on the record saying this on Twitter a million times. If they win the World Series, it's because this is a very talented roster, and Boone got out of the way.
Hold on.
They're winning in spite of Aaron Boone.
What are your words for Aaron Boone in a world where he gives a shit what you have to say and you're talking to him if they win the World Series? What do you say to him?
Thanks for doing the easy things. Thanks for doing
the
bare minimum. The bare minimum.
He's sitting across from you. He says, "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm a big fan of your work. You seem like a real straight shooter with a good."
He's not saying it to me.
Oh, this is what's happening. It's a hypothetical. Okay? I make the rule.
Let's run it, Aaron.
Let's run it, Aaron. And you're looking at him in the. You're not talking to me. You're talking to him. Man, no cameras, face to face. What do you say to him?
Oof. I have been very hypercritical of him. I have a lot of legitimate gripes. I don't like a lot of the things he says and the way he frames things.
We just won the World Series.
It's going to take. It took him, and I would say this to him. I would say this to him. It took doing the bare minimum and making the easy decisions.
You fucking can't help yourself, man.
To make the easy. That's all he needs to do. Look at this roster. You don't have to overthink it. Make the easy decisions. When the game is close at the end, maybe with 5 outs left, go to Bednar. If you have a matchup where Tim Hill needs to come in, don't bring in Will Warren or something. Put in Tim Hill. If you go to Cruz when you need to strike out and throw splitters, put the best lineup out there against a certain guy when they have good numbers. This isn't rocket science. You don't have to overthink things. You don't have to go Nestor out of the bullpen after he's missed 2 months from injury in a key moment in a key World Series. You don't have to do the extra shit. Yeah. Do the bare minimum that is required of your job. Put the right lineup out there. Go to the obvious reliever in the obvious situations, just like things worked out down the stretch. Don't change that. Things were going good to end the season. You don't got to get all crazy and go to Yarborough in the 8th inning in a close game. That doesn't have to happen. So, if I was sitting across from him, I would say, you know what? I've been very hypercritical. I'm relieved at a lot of the decisions you made during this run to win a World Series because I feel like you didn't do anything extra outside of what was working to end the season. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's what he's going to need to do to deliver for this team. And he's going to have to, when you have a group this good, you just don't have to do all the extra, smartest guy in the room type shit. It's just not required.
Okay.
How many times did Dave
I'm
Roberts?
I'm going to push back on just one thing.
Here we go.
That he has not had, like, he's had his work cut out for him in terms of managing this amorphous, ever-changing, underperforming bullpen this year. And that's like the number one thing that he has to worry about in the postseason and during the year. I'm not saying
the analytics team puts that together for him most of the time.
You can say that, but he has to make the decision, and he's not getting that radio down to him in the dugout, right? And there's ebbs and flows to this. There's levels to this. And I'm just trying to say, in a hypothetical scenario where they win it all, do you have the humanity and the humility just to say, good job, Booney? Good job, buddy. Appreciate
Absolutely.
the title.
Good job doing the bare minimum that is required of your job.
Yeah. That's it. Because he never came up in our discussions of whether we think the Yankees can win it all. And if you think he's a limiting factor, then it should have come up. So we're sitting here saying,
it's
we're
scary.
certainly going to blame him for something if we lose. And
I love this roster a lot, and the bullpen does scare me, like we've talked about. But I think this offense, this starting pitching, I think this roster is currently constructed can win in spite of maybe him making a couple of bad decisions. If Doval, if we're in let's say hypothetically, a Game 5 swing game, it's 2-2. Game 5 is a big deal to swing the series in a certain direction. Let's say it's late in the 8th inning, right? 5-5. And Doval comes in and walks 2 guys and gives it a 3-run home run. And Devin Williams was available. Maybe Bednar for extra outs was available. Tim Hill's available. If there were a better option and he goes to like a Doval in a moment like that and loses the game and we end up losing the series, I would be hard-pressed to not be like, bro, what are you doing? Doval is crazy. He's wild. So in situations, that's the kind of stuff like that he doesn't need to do. And I think obviously, we talk a lot of shit about Boone. He's smarter than that. Doval's wild as shit sometimes, and you shouldn't put him in a moment like that. So that's all I'm saying. Don't do the weird stuff. You don't have to overthink things.
You entertain my hypothetical, and I'll entertain yours. If he does that,
100%.
I'm first in line. Fire.
I said today. Yeah, and I said today because people were talking about the hypothetical with, I don't know, Rosario or something else, and I quoted it and I said, maybe I'm drinking the postseason excitement juice. Maybe I'm just a little overly optimistic, but I don't hate that decision. I think, if they think the best thing to do is stack these right-handers, especially a guy like Rosario who has success against Crochet, if they think that's the best way to go tomorrow and it works out, I mean, I don't have any gripes. And Paul Goldschmidt starting tomorrow would put a better defensive first baseman in there. So, yeah, it does suck having Rice come out. But you're getting a better defender at first who can also hit lefties. You're getting maybe Rosario in there. You hope that the defense gets covered up and he can hit to make up for, whatever potential blunder he might have defensively to get his bat in there. I'm pretty on board with a lot of the things I've heard being talked about. I'm on board with Cam Schlittler starting a potential Game 3. I'm out there. I'm giving credit where credit is due here. I'm not saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. I support it. I'm excited. I made a post earlier today that said, you know what? Despite some of the narratives we've had about certain players during the regular season, once the playoffs start, it's all hands on deck. Yeah. I don't give a fuck about narratives. I don't give a fuck about being right. I want to win a damn World Series. And if that means Volpe going off and me, slapping myself in the face and saying, oh my God, I was so wrong about Volpe. I don't care. I need these guys to win.
Yeah, other than Judge going crazy, nothing would be more fun for me than seeing Anthony Volpe go crazy in the postseason.
Dude,
it has nothing to do with whether I've been critical of him because he's earned every little bit of criticism he's gotten.
He has.
So, he can also earn everyone's love. It's
true.
Right.
It's true.
To quote our favorite baseball guy.
Say it.
It's right there. It's right in front of us.
It's right in front of us. It's on the table.
No one is rooting against, no sane Yankee fan that we associate with is rooting against any of these guys.
Exactly.
We want Anthony Volpe to succeed as much as we want anyone else in the team to do well. It's just a matter of looking at what we have and what we've seen so far and feeling the normal emotions of frustration and doubt and fear and excitement. And there's certain guys that have been there for us that have done it consistently. And other guys that you can avoid just dreaming on the basis of Italian heritage and whether he's cute And it doesn't mean you freaking hate the guy. It means you feel bad for him and you want him the hell off the team, off the World Series roster, right? Or the postseason roster, right?
Yep.
But we're talking about hypotheticals almost like as a topic unto itself now. If Volpe goes crazy, there's no one I'd rather see that from more than besides Judge, because of how incredibly entertaining that would be. Right?
If a guy at the bottom of an order like him, who's expected to make outs, is hitting, in addition to the other big boys that are hitting, this lineup goes from, arguably the best lineup left, the best lineup in baseball, to by far the best lineup in baseball, because your easy out is no longer an easy out anymore. It just makes it deeper and lengthens that lineup. So 100%. And
if he can adopt that Devin Williams mentality we talked about, where we're saying Devin Williams, the slate's clean. So, this is the kind of town, this is the kind of stage where if you look at Volpe's grand slam in the World Series last year, how much goodwill that's given him. He's still in the league because
he's still riding off of that game.
Right.
Against the Dodgers JV pitching stuff.
That's a two-way thing. We can say that's not a good metric to go on, but it's the reality of how we view these guys. Right.
I made a weird comparison the other day where what if Volpe becomes like a Kike Hernandez type, where he's incredibly mid during the regular season, and everyone's like, God, he sucks. And then it's the clock strikes October, and the dude just hits everything. Like,
bring it on, man.
If that ended up being what he is, sign me up. I'll take another 600 OPS season next year if he does the same damn thing.
The thing is, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think if in the case that he goes off in the postseason, I think maybe I'm wrong, but my read on his entire makeup is that so much of it is mental. So much of it, I'm sure, has to do with the fact that he's trying to be the guy that plays every day and never get Wally pipped, because he probably plays through a lot of injuries. But besides that, so much of it is confidence and how he views himself as a player, and not being able to relinquish this idea that he's going to be like shortstop Mookie Betts, batting from the right side, popping homers at $170, being a dynamic player. He needs to look at a guy like Jose Caballero down there, competing for a spot, and say, I'm gonna be that, because that guy's more valuable than a has-been prospect who is toiling away trying to hit home runs when he weighs 175 pounds.
It's true. And if you look at Caballero, it just irritates me so much. I wish I was calling the shots. He is so much more of a gritty player. He's a pest. No pitcher wants him on the bases because he runs his ass off. He's annoying over there. You're always paying attention to him. You're taking your attention off the batter, worrying about what he's doing over there. He can chop a ground ball into the ground and beat it out for a single. He can poke a double every now and then. He's gritty. I feel like this is, I don't know, maybe kind of a weird thing to say. I feel like Caballero is more of an adult than Volpe is like a kid. I feel like Caballero's mental is more mature, and you
want Caballero in a bar fight, right? You want, if you're going to be in a bar fight with somebody.
Oh God, yeah.
You're picking Caballero.
He's gritty.
At this time of year, baseball can be a little bit like a bar fight.
Yep.
Right? It's not a rowing match. It's not a round of golf. And so there's a certain mentality where when you have equal talents and kind of equal production, or at least close to equal, you want the guy who's going to put his nose in it and get on the other team's nerves and be an absolute dog, man. And he's a dog. I want dogs 100%. Out there. I don't want cats. I don't want felines out there.
I think Judge said it or someone earlier when they acquired him. Like, I like the fact that he's on our side now, because when we played against him, he was such a pest. Like, the guy is just, he's stealing bases. He's beating out infield singles.
Boone said
he's
that.
Slapping a double. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's 100% right. I mean, that's a guy you want with you now. You don't have to worry about him anymore. He's on your side. So utilize him. I mean, he's got the better arm than Volpe. I think he has better range than Volpe. I think he's more mature. I think he understands who he is as a player more than Volpe. Volpe is a guy that keeps going back and forth between this contact hitter role to power hitter role.
Right.
Not really understanding who he is yet. And I mean, he just finished his third season.
If Volpe goes 0-4 in game 1 against the Red Sox and the Yankees win anyway. Because I think if we lose and he goes over, I think if we lose and he goes 0-4, you see Caballero in there at shortstop. But if we win, I'm not sure. And that's the reason why I agree with you about Boone. That's what pisses me off. Is that they act like he doesn't like look at narrative arcs. But if he really didn't, he would be able to look at some of these performances in isolation and separate from winning and make the right decision. That's the kind of thing I worry about. But I'm still holding out hope that we're just 1-4 away from Volpe, getting a little bit humbled and sitting down and being a pinch runner off the bench the way we're going to be talking about Caballero being so valuable as. Why can't Volpe do that?
Yeah, and if you think about, remember the 2022 ALCS against the Astros, they benched IKF finally in the middle of the playoffs and started the rookie Oswald Peraza at shortstop. I mean, they made a drastic change mid ALCS with their starting everyday shortstop, and I think if Volpe, fucks up a few throws, or if he kicks a few ground balls around, or if he's 0 for 4, 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts for a few games in a row, Boone and the Yankees end up winning.
Right. Otherwise, it won't be a few games in a row.
Exactly.
It'll be quick.
It might be like, okay, we won in spite of Volpe fucking things up. Going forward, do we put Caballero out there and see if he can give us a 2 or 3 game stretch where he can clean up the defense, steal bases, beat out infield singles, smack some doubles, play better defense, be more valuable to his team than Volpe, if Volpe hurts it? Because if you look towards the end of this season right here, the cortisone shot probably helped Volpe a lot, but he's tailed off the last couple of games before the season ended. And that cortisone Volpe kind of joke that we were saying every time he got a base knock kind of went away because he wasn't stringing those hits together anymore. He didn't look like he was feeling good anymore. So, it's going to be a very interesting situation where if Volpe starts to fuck things up, can they take the nipple out of his mouth and make him grow up and become a man and say, hey, buddy, you're going to have to ride the pine because we need to win these damn games. We can't have you out there kicking the ball around and fucking things up at the plate. So It's going to be weird. They love him. They love his attitude. Boone thinks he's fucking elite, which is what he said to Meredith Marakovitz at the press conference. We know they love Volpe. He's the golden child. He gets a limited run like nobody else does. They love him. But can they put that aside and make the tough decision to bench him if need be, if he starts fucking things up and costing this team games?
Yeah, it won't be because of his defense. It'll be because of his offense, in my opinion. I think Volpe is the facts are interesting, right? Because you look at what we're actually going to see a matchup of the two, as far as the American League goes. The two shortstops on both sides are the league leaders in errors. So Trevor Story has the exact same number of errors, 19, as Volpe, and not just shortstops, but any, in terms of the lead for most errors by any player of any position. Number 3 is Jazz Chisholm, who we don't talk about as much, right?
Yeah, there are some brain farts out there on defense from him.
Right, but if you look but depending on whatever other stats you like, I'm not saying errors are the most. They're not the be all end all of whatever. But if you look at the other numbers, Volpe grades up pretty nicely in terms of the D-WAR and other things like that, defensive run saved. So, he's had much better defensive years in the past, but I don't think it'll be because he makes an error in the field. Now, if he just all of a sudden can't throw to first, sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
but I think what I'm concerned about is just what Caballero can do. To impact a game, even if he's not like hitting for power or whatever. I think from an on-base perspective and just speed and defensive perspective, I just trust Caballero more, and it's not like here's the numbers to back it up, and that's what the Yankees will need. It's probably some kind of event or an injury or losing to cause that button to get pushed, which is why I was kind of delusionally hoping for them to just come out the gate with Caballero in there at short, which would make me feel
I think earlier today I came to peace with the idea and the fact that Volpe is going to start going forward. I think they want to use Caballero as that defensive substitution guy who could play outfield or infield late in the game, or be a pinch runner kind of thing, which is unfortunate because I think he offers a lot at the bottom of the order as an everyday player for this team. And Slater, you have Slater there who can go play outfield. If you want to throw an infielder out there, you could have possibly Volpe or Rosario in a pinch. But I think putting your best foot forward at the arguably the most important position on the field, the shortstop, putting Caballero out there from the beginning, having confidence that ground balls will be fielded, throws will be made, and then what he offers at the plate. I would love to have Caballero at the bottom of the order, setting the table for when things flip back to the top of the order.
Yeah.
Let's say he hits a single, then steals second base. All of a sudden, you're looking at a runner in scoring position, and after one at bat, and the top of the order can go to work and get out there and feast. So it's just that just really irks me. And I think
totally agree. And there are things that I know I have no numbers to back it up for, but like it feels like Anthony Volpe has been so terrible on double play balls, executing them, or even just securing a single out when they're tough. And Caballero, it just, once again, I have no material numbers to back this up. It just feels like I have tons of confidence in the duo of him and Jazz making double plays when it matters. And they can be really, really big and impactful in postseason games. Like a clutch double play can be as big as a solo home run, you know?
Yep.
So
100%.
That's what I worry about.
It just the reasoning behind it just irks me the most. You know, we anointed Volpe as the shortstop. We think he's elite. We think, you know, he had a good October last year. I don't think the reasons are good enough because it's the more risky play. Anybody who is sane here understands that is a more risky play going with Volpe primarily as shortstop going forward rather than Caballero. You're taking on the most risk on both sides of the ball. And you don't need to. There's no reason to, other than hurting the guy's feelings. I mean, I just don't. It just irritates the heck out of me because Caballero is by far and away the better situational hitter, the better on base guy, the better stolen base guy, the better defender. I mean, why would you have a much better player at a key position and not start him over the guy who's more risky? It absolutely drives me nuts. But getting back to my prediction really quick, you know, I think Yankees end up meeting the Phillies in the World Series, and I think the Yankees can win that game in 6 games. So, you know, is that Kevin? Late night, Kev? Why is Johnny dressed up as Luke Voigt? Oh man, you know, I'm not swinging the sledgehammer at the tires just yet. You know, like Luke Voigt's patented preseason workout. But you know, if I can be half the size of Luke Voigt one day and do it healthy, that would be great. Maybe Connor can send me some of his gear, and you know, we can speed this up a little bit over here. But
my steroids, yeah,
you didn't even crack a smile for a second there.
Yeah,
like, I was like, I don't want people to think, you know, there's actually you're my secret steroid connection. You know?
No, it's no secret. That's my job. I sell steroids.
We're just putting it out there, you know.
Yeah,
we you know, I run to the mailbox every day looking for that special package. It just makes me feel good. But
there's one person who believes this right now, and I feel bad for them.
One singular person is
there's like 3,000 people watching or something, and I bet one of them is
they're tagging Cash Patel in the FBI in the comments and like, hey, we got a little steroid situation over here, buddy. But yeah, you know, it's very exciting time to be a Yankee fan. I think this team is much better than last year's. I think it's deeper. I think, you know, even without Garrett Cole, I think this team has a fantastic opportunity to end the drought that we have been experiencing since 2009. I was a sophomore in high school. I was 15 years old, and I remember, you know, parts of it. I don't remember it well. I'd have to, you know, rewatch the damn DVD or whatever, but I still got my wholly, you know, beat up, faded Yankee championship t-shirt from 2009 in here in my closet. And I want to replace that damn thing, and I think this year is a good time to do it.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was so long ago. I think the World Series cap was a flex fit. I have one in my closet. I can go grab it. But yeah, no, there have been many changes to fashion and styles and many. I mean, it just feels like it's been too long for everybody. And the thing, I'm old enough where I have memories of what it feels like to be not only successful and a champion, but to be dominant. And I know that I was so confident even after 2009 that we were going to be going on a run of like winning more than just one.
Yep.
We had a great team in 2010 and 2011, and it was just didn't go our way. But that's what's so precious about this is it's normal to redefine success as just let's get one for this core guys. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing we want. But as much as that, I want a lot of the younger generations of Yankee fans to feel what it feels like to be on top of the mountain, especially because I've said this before, but like the Yankees have no culture outside of being a winning organization. Now, there's other fun things that go along with being a Yankee fan and being a Yankee player and being in the Bronx when they're playing good ball. But unless you have that foundation of recent success, beyond just making the playoffs every year, which is crazy to say, but beyond just that, there really a lot of what we're saying rings false to the outside world because unless you're actually winning championships, like you know, no one cares about the ones you won pre-integration, 100%. Right? So let's get one. Because without it, it's kind of like not having oxygen for our entire fan base and our entire culture and the next generation building upon that. We have to actually have a passing of the torch. It can't just be grandpa to to grandson. It has to be from generation to generation. It's normal to not win every year, but Christ, I mean, it's been far too long. 16 years is.
I mean, look at some of the teams that have reeled off a cluster of championships in recent memory. The Giants had 3 of them. The Red Sox had a couple within a few years. I mean, teams like the Royals and the Texas Rangers have won World Series championships, during this drought. The Cardinals, I think, have a couple. The Astros have been to a few, the Dodgers. So, it's baseball is one of those sports where there's a lot of good teams and a lot of things have to go your way luck wise. But, there are teams who have reeled off pretty consecutive, consistent World Series appearances and championship runs. So, it's not outside of the realm of possibility that this Yankee team could do it too. And Garrett Cole and Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge are getting up there in years a little bit. And, it's kind of one of those now or never situations, because last year they had their opportunity and, we all kind of felt like, damn, the year with Juan Soto, the year with Garrett Cole, like, okay, maybe if we can retain.
It's the year when Giancarlo Stanton, who's 35 years old, looks better than he did when he was 30. He looks fantastic. That can't last forever.
You can't waste that.
Giancarlo Stanton
waste that.
Right. Looking, whatever he did with the tennis elbows coming back stronger, he looks better now at 35 than he did at the age of 30. So that is as much a window as anything. I mean, it's not
take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's not a linear thing. It's like right now. So to me, that means as much as having a healthy Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
In terms of plus minus. So it's not, you can't just hold out for, well, next year we'll have a better chance, because there have been things that have gone our way that have made up for bad luck coming in.
Yes.
And so those things are carrying through and are carrying us. It's now or never, man. It's the best time of year for sports.
Needs to happen.
Yep. Because, look, it's the best time of year because the Yankees at least always give us something to talk about around this time of year. And it's about time we are saying the same thing in a month. It's about time we're saying the exact same thing in a month and change, where we're talking about whether we can repeat and not just, this is going to be really, really fun to watch us play some meaningful baseball games in the cold weather.
100%.
There's a value to it. It puts meat in the seats. It certainly keeps the payroll up where it needs to be to hopefully go for one of these things, but we got to do it. We got to seal the deal, get the job done, man.
And they're running it back after a gut-wrenching World Series last year. Yeah. They showed that they can get there. They lost Juan Soto. Garrett Cole's been out. They revamped the lineup. They added a Cody Bellinger. They added a Devin Williams, who has been better as a setup man than closer. But they added a few other players. I'm scratching my head a little bit here. Grisham had a good season. They've pieced together a group that has equaled the win total from last season without Juan Soto and without Garrett Cole. Part of that is Bellinger and other guys stepping up and, being great players all year long. But this team has every opportunity, they are very capable of getting right back to the World Series and running it back, going to back-to-back World Series and taking at least one of them. Like you said earlier, the National League is weaker this year than it was last year. The Phillies, one of the favorites, they don't have Zach Wheeler anymore. The Dodgers, their starting rotation really good. Their bullpen is in absolute shambles. The Padres, they've had their struggles. Their rotation, not great. Lineup is sometimes hot and cold. Some of the better teams in the National League don't scare you as much as the Dodgers scared us last year. And that was a Dodger team that had a depleted starting rotation and still found a way to beat us because their lineup and their bullpen was so good. Their lineup and starting pitching is good now, but they don't have anyone to get you out late in the game. And I'll take my chances with our league leading lineup against their back end of the bullpen any day of the week. So I think if the Yankees,
you including Ohtani, because he might close games for them because they changed the rules for him.
Whatever. I mean, are we going to see a Tanner Scott or a Kirby Yates or Alex Vesia along the way? I mean, we can hit all those guys. Trinan doesn't look the same, so they're kind of, they're not as powerful as they were last year.
How electric would it be to see Judge go deep on Ohtani late in the game in the Bronx?
Oh God!
How fucking epic!
The second deck might crumble to the fucking floor. Is what might happen.
Everyone, take a second and suspend your fears and disbelief for a second, and just picture that. Picture Ohtani coming in as the savior in a game in the Bronx where he's historically done terribly,
pitching,
including the World Series last year, injury notwithstanding, and coming in as the golden child, greatest player in history, and giving up a yard job to Aaron Judge in the Bronx to put us up late in an important game of the world. I mean, just
It would
Boy,
be deafening.
that would feed families and save the entire sport for decades to come.
It would be as box office gets. But we're looking a little bit ahead, like we were doing earlier. That's just natural as baseball fans, But this first series tomorrow, if we can get past the series, my imagination is going to start running wild, and I'm not going to be able to stop it, because it's just all those feelings start coming back. Just looking at the text on the font of the postseason stuff they're putting up around the stadium today gives me butterflies and anxiety from last year, because it looks very similar, and it brings back some bad memories that I want to forget, but also bring back some good memories of, damn, this is what it feels like to feel a World Series as an adult, because I was a teenager back in 2009. So it felt, I didn't think I was gonna have to wait 15 years to see the Yankees back in the World Series. There's whole generations of people on Twitter that we interact with all day that were tiny infants when that was going on, or not even born yet. So this generation plus us who are looking to feel that feeling again, we're hungry, we're starving. And what separates this fan base from a lot of the other fan bases, like, oh, I'm a Pirates fan, I haven't, you don't have the expectations every year. You don't have the high payroll every year. You don't have the star players every year. The expectations is what sets our patience apart from the patience of a Colorado Rockies fan that isn't expecting anything ever. I'm a Colts fan. I don't expect them to go to the Super Bowl. So I go through the season just enjoying football, being back and watching my team. I don't expect them to be in the Super Bowl. So I don't get upset when it doesn't happen, because am I a little ticked off? Yeah, I wish they would do it someday, but I don't expect it. Expectations are everything. The New York Yankees are expected to be in there.
It's a good example. I just went to a Giants game with every expectation, New York Giants, that they would lose the football game, but I wanted to go to see what I thought maybe would be inspiring for the future of the team down the road.
Jackson Dart, stud.
Right? And when they won that game against all semblance
against a really good team,
against what I think is a top 5 offense in all of football and a really, really good defense.
And Jim Harbaugh can coach football, man.
Yep. I don't care that they lost their left tackle. We lost our ex receiver along the way too, which is a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But the environment and the energy in that stadium, which has been so dire for so long, to Johnny's point, the expectations coming in were just to hopefully see a spark, to see a victory. You'd have thought that we ended World War II and won and won the Super Bowl all at the same time. People were hugging and crying, and there were nothing but deafening.
Crying?
Deafening. Deafening. Let's go Giants chants on the way out, all the way until I got into my car. I was hearing those. Okay, and I parked far away.
That's surprising.
That's a product of being starved, just like we are. Okay, and going in there with an open mind and an open heart, and kind of expecting to lose. So here's the question, and if you want to get fired up, I'm going to try to get you fired up here. So last year we had a nice little run, right? And you could definitely build on a lot of the success we had, with and without Soto, right? And then you get to the World Series and you get your shit pushed in, especially game 1 where you really felt like you had a chance. The question is that going to be the kind of thing that we carry around our neck like a big weight, like an albatross? Or we're going to take that shit off, dry it up, chop it up in little pieces, put it in a goddamn torch, and use that to light the way and get us there.
Yeah.
Because we fucking know. We've been there. We understand the ups and the downs of all that. Are we going to take the mentality and allow that to be an advantage? Or are we going to kind of play scared and worry about that and just hope that someone else will pick up the fucking line for us and make it different this time?
Yep.
Okay.
And I think Judge on the record and some others are saying, this is we're on a mission. We're trying to right the wrong that was 2024. This is not just, hey, yeah, we're cool, we're back in the playoffs, go pop some champagne. No, this is tomorrow is step 1 of getting back to the big dance and finishing the job. So, like you said, are you going to crumble under the pressure? Or are you going to, take the experience you had from last season and that bad taste in your mouth, and are you going to right the wrong? I do fear Judge pressing, squeezing the bat too tight, trying to do too much. But at the same time, the lineup has so much depth. He doesn't have to be the only guy hitting home runs. He doesn't have stay within yourself. Do what you were doing to finish the season. You don't have to do anything extra than what you've been doing, and be that guy. He's too talented. He hit 330 for a whole season with 50 plus home runs. That is the best player in baseball hitting wise by far. Yeah, one of the best hitters we're ever going to see. You can't keep that down for as long as it's been down.
He's so talented that he had a 780 OPS in the postseason last year, and everyone across the nation said that he absolutely chunked his pants and was an embarrassment. That's how talented he is. And when you're a player like that and you get paid the way he does, you welcome that, because for him, an OPS of anything less than 1,000 when it counts is going to look like you take the one out and it's nothing but zeros. So you think that he shies away from that? You think that he feels bad for himself? I don't think he does. And
prove him wrong. Go out there and prove him wrong.
Matter of waiting it out and getting the results the same way Alex Rodriguez did, the same way Barry Bonds did.
Do you remember how much A-Rod used to get killed?
Yes, and I'm old enough to remember that. I remember reading the freaking tabloids about that, or reading the articles about that in the New York Post, and back when people read newspapers. I remember that.
And nothing even close has been said about Aaron Judge compared to what A-Rod was getting back in the day. What Peyton
These
Manning
kids don't even know about that.
Super Bowl.
The same thing happened with Barry Bonds, and Barry Bonds absolutely went off in the 2002 World Series. They lost, but the guy was an absolute freak. Going into 2002, he'd already crossed 500 home runs. He'd already set the single season record, shattered the record for home runs in a single season 3 years after it was set. The guy was known as an absolute postseason choke artist, and that was Barry Bonds. He was already 37, and we had already written him off as an absolute dud in the playoffs. Okay? The idea that it's still too little too late right now, when he's in his absolute prime, one of the greatest primes we've ever seen, all we have to do is keep getting back to the dance, and here we are again. I'm not betting against that man. That is a bad man to bet against. Okay? If I'm wrong, I got bigger problems. I don't believe it.
I agree. It's like a volcano that hasn't erupted in 400 years, and they're like, the big one's coming. It's been overdue for 100 years. It's going to wipe out the whole city. When Aaron Judge wakes up during the postseason and goes on this 2009 A-Rod run that we're looking for, oh, man. This thing is going to be.
Give it to me, Johnny. Give it to me, baby. Woo! Come on.
Like, it is going to be a spectacle. And that,
you gotta let the kids know, man.
It is going to be something else. Like, A-Rod was my favorite player at the time before all the scandals and stuff, and it kind of soured me on him. But it was just seeing the shit he was getting from the media year in and year out, it wasn't fun, and I didn't like it. And to see him come through in those moments that he played back in his head, envisioning having the success. He did it a million times. He always wondered what it would feel like to hoist a World Series trophy, to come through for the team in those big moments rather than choke. And he was realizing it in real time, and you were seeing the look on his face. He was stoic. When he was I think it was against the Phillies or the Angels, I think during that run, he hits a double and he slides in the second and he points in the dugout. Then you see Jeter standing there pointing too. It gives me fucking chills right now. I'm ready to run through this goddamn wall. That's the shit I want to see from Aaron fucking Judge, man. I want to see him. I want to see all the things he's envisioned doing in these moments. All the gifts of him dropping the ball in center field, him having a terrible games 1 through 3 in the World Series, all the shit he's been getting, not living up to the billing of what that World Series matchup was last year. He's had to sit through that and take that and see that on social media and hear about it and wear it for the last calendar year. Now he's going to get an opportunity to right the wrong. He's going into October hot. He's going to get his chance to put all this shit behind him. And I really hope he does. He's beyond due. Look, I want to see those moments. I want to see him pointing in the dugout like, "Here, that's right, you motherfuckers. I did that shit." Like, I'm ready for that.
Oh, yeah. I want it to be all positivity and all love, man. The guy's got a family now. He's got a little kid, a little daughter. He's got a great set of parents. I want
to see that dog.
Oh, yeah, man. I don't think he's going to be living out of a sense of fear and what might come from what he might see on X or
I want to see veins.
I think he's just thinking about his fucking
he hears
plaque.
it. He sees it and he hears it. All these guys do.
I think he's already minted his Hall of Fame plaque, and I think he wants to add another little line to it. And I think that's the kind of thing that we all want to see. And I don't think he's going to be afraid, man. I think it can't get worse than dropping a ball in that kind of a collapse at the stadium. It can't get worse.
That was the floor. That was his lowest moment. His lowest for a superstar to go through. I mean, the big star in the game, the most recognizable star in all of baseball. For him to have to go through what he went through after dropping that ball in center field, that's as rock bottom as it gets. And it's going to be a gift
what does
forever.
He have to fear? What does he have to be afraid of at this point?
He's already lived through the worst, so it's time to trees don't grow to the sky. This
light it on fire. Use it as a goddamn torch to get you there this time, man. Don't carry it around like a burden. Set that shit on fire. Okay. It's a guiding light.
He just can't press. Be who you are. Like it's so easy to say. Obviously, we're not him, but just be who you are. Be what you've been over the last several weeks as he's been hot. You don't got to do anything differently. You don't got to change anything. You don't got to change your approach. Do the same exact fucking thing and act like. And obviously, you can't act like it's a regular season, but man, if he's just a fraction of his regular season self, what is that? 275, I don't know, 35 bombs, 950 OPS. Like if he's a quarter less of what he was in the regular season in the postseason, it'll be the best run of his life. So I mean,
I think you're thinking about it the wrong way. I think of it in terms of, give me one image of him going deep on Crochet in game 1 to give us a lead
to right field,
and let the fucking crowd noise do the rest. Like I'm not thinking in terms of where it shakes out numerically. I mean, you're right to point those things out and to put numbers to it, but I almost feel like the comforting side of it is like, give me like him taking over one game and the rest of it will take care of itself.
Yeah,
get
the monkey off your back early,
dude. Get the win early too. Like be a part.
That's part of it. That's part of it.
Get the win early. Be the man. And then it's like, I don't even care.
And then everyone's like, oh, fuck, Aaron Judge woke up.
Yeah.
Like, the Yankees are obviously a great team, but if he's going to do
watch
that.
Him get walked 8 times and score 4 runs in the process after that.
Yeah.
Because of what it does to the entire ballpark. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's when he's even a little bit right, the magnetic force around him that other teams don't want to even get near.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It's just just give us one. Give us one
the intentional
moment.
Walks. The intentional walks. They're going to come.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm pumped too, man. I know it's super late for you over there, so we'll wrap things up after. We just hit the 2-hour mark. It's been, a very exciting show. We've had a lot to talk about. Haven't had a show in a long time. If you guys are still with us, go to my Twitter page, click on the blue link in my bio, follow the Lasagna Show on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your family's family and your family's friends and your cats and your dogs and all your pets. And let's have some fun. We'll try to do a few videos over the course of this playoff run. Good things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. Hopefully mostly good, but we'll come on here. We'll talk about them. We'll have some dialogue. We hope you guys will come join us as well. Have a good time getting some things off your chest and going over some of the X's and O's of what we watched in some of these games. But hopefully this is going to lead to the Yankees getting out of this Boston series, and the rest is history. It's going to be box office, man. I can't wait to watch it. I wish I could fast forward to first pitch tomorrow. I'll be glued to my television. I'll be sitting there, hoping I'm watching the first step of what will be a championship run. Any final thoughts from you before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm going to be getting to the stadium around 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. If anyone's planning to go to the game or going to stands, I'm going to be there at stands at 4 o'clock. Drinks on me. It's going to be fucking bedlam at all that entire strip. I'm not going to Billy's because I'm not 15 years old. But if you want to come to, maybe I'll go there after the game. But I'm going to stands. If anyone wants to come through and say what's up, hit me in the DMs or just follow me and tweet at me. Just down to see some good fans and see a good crowd and see a good game. So
100%. It's going to be, I'm going to be able to feel that atmosphere through my damn television. It's going to be awesome that you're there. So I just hope it's a great ball game. I hope, we get the outcome that we're all looking for. And hopefully there are some good things to talk about afterwards. Thank you so much, Bernard. He said, thank you guys. Great job. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ravon. Thanks for being here. Marissa, Adam, thank you, all of you guys for being in the chat today. We had a great turnout, and we definitely enjoyed you guys engaging with us and, a little bit of back and forth and moving some topics along. So it's much appreciated. All right, here we go. Yankees are ready to play baseball tomorrow. The playoffs start tomorrow. Nerves, anxiety, all the emotions are preloaded, and we are all just one sleep away from what hopefully is going to be the next title run. So that'll do it for us. Thank you all for joining us once again tonight, and we look forward to talking to you again. And as always, go Yankees.
Yeah,
Peace.
Go Yanks. Let's beat those damn Red Sox.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.